I'm at peace. So the NBA world is abuzz over whether or not the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be able to acquire Mr. LeBron James in the offseason. The question in my mind, and I believe that it should be also the question in the minds of LA Laker fans and the LA Laker front office, is whether or not they should sign Mr. LeBron James. Of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
So here's the deal. When addressing the possibility of LeBron joining the Spurs in the offseason, Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer wrote Thursday that he's consistently heard from multiple sources that LeBron currently has only 4 teams on his list. Here they are: the Cavs, the Rockets, the 76ers, and the Lakers. And
it's very interesting to me that the Rockets are on LeBron's list, but not the San Antonio Spurs. As I've told you guys in previous videos in regards to LeBron James and his alleged infatuation with Greg Popovich, all that shit is just for show. LeBron does not want to have to play in a real system. He wants to run and gun, and he wants to play the point guard. He wants to run the LeBron James system, and I believe that he sees the Rockets as a place where he will have a chance to beat the Warriors and also be able to run a very free-flowing style that is very much akin to a playground style, which is basically the only style that he can run. LeBron is a basketball genius, meaning he can read certain plays before they occur. He knows where particular players like to play on the court. He knows what their favorite moves are. He knows in what positions they like to go to those moves. But in regards to being restricted to an actual system where it is very regimented and certain players are pretty much relegated to being robots, he can't deal with that. That would make his brain explode. He has to feel like he's in charge of everything. So that, to me, would always rule out the San Antonio Spurs, and he does not have any intention of signing with them, at least not realistically. It's something that he plays with. I think that they would actually give him the best chance of winning another championship. But I could actually see him considering the Rockets. He has a connection with Chris Paul. They have a running gun style. It's a state with no income tax, at least on a state level. Philadelphia, I don't see him signing there. I think that that's another flirtation for Mr. LeBron James. He wouldn't fit in well there. They don't have shooters. The Cavaliers, I think, would most likely be second on his list. And the Lakers, they would have to really seduce him. Magic Johnson would have to seriously roll out the red carpet and seduce LeBron James in order to get him to sign there. Because I just don't understand why LeBron James, who wants to win championships, would go there other than for business purposes. If he does sign with the Lakers or with an LA team, it would be for business purposes.
And league sources are saying to our Ramona Shelbourne that they believe it's still a long shot James chooses the Lakers this summer. So speaking of the Lake Show, Stephen A., where do you see Magic Johnson fitting into all this?
Before Stephen A. answers, let me say this. If I were a Laker fan, I would not want the Lakers to sign LeBron James. I don't think that he's going to do anything to raise or improve the team at all in regards to their understanding of basketball. All it's going to be is the LeBron James show for 2 or 3 years. It's going to seriously hamper the development of many of the young players, particularly Lonzo Ball, who supposedly you want to be your point guard of the future. I guess maybe they want to relegate him to being a backcourt mate of another player while LeBron James runs the point. But Lonzo does not shoot well enough from the outside to play off the ball consistently, unless they plan on packaging Lonzo in a deal to ship him somewhere else and bring in shooters for LeBron. That is a possibility. As a matter of fact, if you hear LeBron James signing with the Lakers, it's probably going to be in tandem with Lonzo Ball getting traded.
Well, here's how Magic Johnson fits in all of this, and I talked about this on my radio show. Doesn't get mentioned too much because we're always talking about Will Cain, but there's a lead in to Will Cain on ESPN Radio. It would happen to be the Stephen A. Smith Show from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time nationwide in 250 mass markets across the United States of America. But I'm sure that's dwarfed by Will Cain. Believe what you want. Here's the deal.
You sound very petty and insecure, sir, to take 10 seconds to shout out Will Cain as an alleged threat. All you did was legitimize him as a threat in your mind. And let me say this about Will Cain. He has become an essential part of your show because you and Max Kellerman basically are a couple of pseudo-liberals. In Max Kellerman's case, an extreme liberal. In your case, a switch-sidey liberal. And neither one of you have any definitive points. at least Will Kane, as asinine as some of his assertions may be, actually believes some of the bullshit that he says.
The deal. Magic Johnson, as I said on my radio show yesterday, I'm not going to say he's in the Lions' den as of yet, but make no mistake about it. Magic Johnson just pulled off a trade with Rob Pelinka, and as a result, they added Rodney Hood, Larry Nance Jr., they sent them Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. to Cleveland. They created enough cap space to not go after just one, but potentially two max players.
The trade that the LA Lakers were able to execute, where they got Isaiah Thomas in return for getting rid of Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr., wasn't a good trade. It wasn't a great trade. It was a spectacular trade for them. They received a player in Isaiah Thomas who's going to be a free agent. They can let him go, which I'm sure they will. The team will most likely finish somewhere around 500, which will be a great finish for them. It will provide optimism for next season, as well as the fact that they're certainly going to get someone. They're going to get someone, a big name, at least one big name. It may not be LeBron, but they're going to land someone. Don't be shocked to see them land Kevin Durant. I'm going to put that out there now. Don't be shocked to see them land Kevin Durant in the offseason. Kevin Durant is someone that you really cannot count on mentally. And if the Golden State Warriors were to win another title this year, I think that Kevin Durant would look at his tenure in Golden State as mission accomplished. Now I can go off to LA, which is pretty much the epicenter of the business world, the entertainment industry, and see if I can diversify my portfolio. It's also the home of the thoughts. And Kevin Durant loves him some thoughts. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. In this world, in this current society that we live in, for a man to accept that he's dealing with a thought, that's a major step up over many other men in this society. So do not be shocked to see Kevin Durant sign with the Lakers in the offseason, especially if Golden State were to repeat.
I love me some Magic Johnson. That's my brother. Love him to death. And I'm wishing him nothing but the best. But let's be very, very clear. The summer of 2018 coming up and the summer of 2019, understand whether it's because stars demand trades or because they're available through free agency. We've got LeBron James, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard potentially, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson. Between the summer of 2018 and the summer of 2019, I want to be very, very clear with what I'm about to say. If Magic Johnson doesn't get one of those dudes in a Laker uniform, he has failed. It's that simple.
I would agree with that. And the reason why I agree with that is because I'm sure that that's pretty much how Magic Johnson is thinking as well. Magic is a person who aligns LA and the Lakers with star power. And he's not someone who particularly wants to build through the draft. He wants to get a touchstone player and hope that the players that he already has are good enough to be supplementary players for that touchstone player. And if not, he'll be willing to trade all those supplementary players to bring in another star player. Magic is certainly caught up in the glitz and glamour aspect of the LA Lakers. And with him being in a preeminent position, he's going to go all the way with it.
This is what, and I've said this about Phil Jackson, who did nothing but steal money from the New York Knicks, and James Dolan pulled off the heist of the century as far as I'm concerned.
Stephen A. Smith is another New York Knicks fan who tortures himself. New York Knicks fans are like a chick that's never happy. They don't know if it's James Dolan's fault. They don't know if it's Phil Jackson's fault. The New York Knicks were a moribund franchise long before Phil Jackson ever got there. As a matter of fact, Phil Jackson drafting Porzingis has been the highlight of the New York Knicks over the past 15 plus seasons. That's the greatest thing that anyone has done, is what Phil Jackson did in drafting Porzingis. He came upon the New York Knicks job at a time period where they basically had no hope whatsoever. They had been making bad move after bad move since 1996.
The man got $60 million for drafting one player, and Kristaps Porzingis. And other than that, he was asleep at the wheel or chilling in Montana doing something that Shaq alluded to during his Hall of Fame speech.
You trying to say that Mr. Phil Jackson's on the weed? Let's understand something, Stephen A. Smith. He inherited a ship that was sinking. Whenever you have a team whose best player is Carmelo Anthony, you're not going to win a championship. Phil Jackson knew that. Just because they won 54 games a couple of years before he got there did not mean that he was supposed to believe in Carmelo. Carmelo Anthony is that 38-year-old chick with 2 kids who still thinks that she's a dime, that she's a catch. No, sir, you're not a catch. Carmelo Anthony was never going to lead any franchise to a championship. Phil Jackson knew that. I knew that even before the Knicks traded for him. I never wanted them to trade for him in the first place. Why trade for someone who's going to come there in the offseason anyway? You could have kept all your pieces. Why treat him like he's LeBron James? He's not LeBron. And to the OKC Thunder's credit, after about a month, they decided that they were going to treat him according to how good a player he actually was, as opposed to how big a name he has.
Here's the deal. In the case of Magic Johnson, I don't anticipate that because Magic Johnson understands what comes along with his role as president of basketball operations. It's not just about drafting. It's not just about creating cap space. It's also about recruiting.
Well, that's where Magic Johnson is going to max out 10 out of 10. Because as we all know, Magic has charisma to spare.
You have to be able to recruit. And you in Los Angeles, representing the purple and gold, the greatest franchise arguably ever, okay, that we're talking about, which is the Los Angeles Lakers. And over the course of 2 summers, 2018, 2019, we got 5 marquee guys that may be there for the taking, because I believe that Anthony Davis is going to ask out of New Orleans. We got 5 guys.
Well, yes, he's going to eventually do that. And it's only going to be a matter of whether or not the right team is going to be willing to trade for him or be able to trade for him.
We've got LeBron, we've got Paul George, we've got Anthony Davis, we've got Kawhi Leonard potentially, because we're hearing that LA may be of interest if San Antonio doesn't work out. And then obviously you've got Klay Thompson, whose daddy doesn't get mentioned nearly enough, doing great work for ESPN Radio in LA.
All that's cool, but that has nothing to do with the topic at hand. Because I don't think that Michael Thompson is going to be able to convince his son to come play with the Lakers. I think that Klay Thompson likes it where he's at. I think that he likes to chill out at his house with his dog and get his little thotties off the internet and just be copacetic and smoke his weed or whatever he does in the off season. He doesn't strike me as a person looking for the glitz and the glamour. He certainly does not seem as if he's someone who's a glutton for attention. And that is what he would receive out there in LA. I don't particularly think that he wants to be the number 1 guy. I think he likes playing behind Steph. I think he likes his role as a defender. I think he likes being the second or third wheel, winning championships, making a lot of money, and not spending most of it. Klay strikes me as someone who probably spends 1/50 of his paycheck and puts the rest away for a rainy day.
By the way, was on a couple of championship squads with the Lakers, okay? His son Klay, one of the top 5 shooters in the history of the game. As far as I'm concerned,
I don't know if I go that far, Stephen A. I will put him up there as far as spot-up jump shooters. But when you say top 5 shooters in the history of the NBA, that means off the dribble, off the catch, everything. It has to encompass everything. I don't think that Klay Thompson's shooting off the dribble is adept enough to put him amongst the top 5 greatest ever. But I might have to think about that. Because Reggie Miller was not a great shooter off the dribble at all. No, if not at all, certainly not with the level of accuracy that he had coming off of picks. But I have to sit down and think about that.
5 of those dudes, you got to get one of them if you're Magic Johnson. To me, that's what's on my mind. That's why I say Magic Johnson has everything to do with this subject, because the Lakers got to get somebody.
Yeah, but is LeBron the guy that you want to get with the team that you currently have constituted? That's why I believe, once again, Laker fans out there, if you hear that the Lakers are going to sign LeBron James or are about to or have, expect a big trade coming up concurrently with that or right after that.
No, they don't. They don't need to get any of those guys. Now, if I had to order them, I would actually not even put LeBron at the head of the list.
Agreed.
Given age, and I know they have some injury history, but Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard would be my top 2 targets.
Agreed. But I don't think that they'd be able to get either one of them because both of them they'd have to acquire in a trade.
Those guys are different, and Anthony Davis is still 24 and Kawhi is still 26. So I would have LeBron 3rd on that hit list, given age, miles, all those things.
Agreed. I might have him 4th. I might want Paul George over him because I would know that Paul George wants to actually be there, and Paul George is better without the basketball. LeBron James does not promise you a championship. Let me put that out there very quickly. There's been this mythos, this narrative that has been concocted by the media that you bring LeBron James on your team and he promises you a championship. No, he does not. He promises you 50 wins. For the most part, he does. I don't know if he'll reach that this season, but for the most part, over the course of his career, he promises you 50 wins, and he promises you a chance to get to the finals. That's why, once again, he is the Wilt Chamberlain of his era. He's not Michael Jordan. He's not Magic. He's not Bird. He's not Bill Russell.
But the Magic doesn't have to get any of those guys. Stephen A., James Harden was not considered a superstar when he was on Oklahoma City. He was considered a promising young and already good player. But he was not perceived as an eventual MVP candidate by most. Daryl Morey identified him, and the Rockets identified him as an undervalued commodity.
That's partially true. James Harden was viewed as a player who was a member of a stacked young squad who would be a potential star on any other team. It wasn't like he was particularly a diamond in the rough. He was a heavy contributor to that phenomenal series performance against the San Antonio Spurs in 2012 when the OKC Thunder, who were viewed as being precocious, were able to defeat the San Antonio Spurs. He just ended up being the odd man out because the consensus was we're going to hold on to Ibaka instead of him because Ibaka was a player who was leading the league in blocks, who was an unbelievable athlete, and who they felt like could be used as a very dynamic big man / swing man. So they chose Ibaka over James Harden. So they pretty much felt like they were forced into a decision. But everyone pretty much knew that Harden was going to be a baller once he left OKC and got a chance to start.
As someone who could be much better than people realized. And now the Rockets may be on the verge of dethroning the Warriors. Let's see what happens in the postseason. Right now, the Rockets have the best record in the NBA. And
how could they be on the verge of dethroning the Warriors when they haven't even played yet, Max Kellerman? Knock it off.
And when healthy, are virtually unbeatable. They've basically not lost one game.
Well, not 2 games because they lost to the Toronto Raptors. But I will say this in regards to Max Kellerman's assertions. They've lost 2 games probably by a combined, 5 points?
And so that could happen too. Magic could identify, Thon Maker's been disappointing this year, but what if it turns out he's really going to be a terrific player, another unicorn-type center, and Magic acquires him, or some...
Okay, Max Kellerman, you're being ridiculous. It's like saying, what if Emmanuel Lewis ends up being Isaiah Thomas? Like, come on. Like, really, what are you talking about, man? Thon Maker?
Someone like him, while he's undervalued. And you put him with Brandon Ingram, who turns into the next Paul George, and Lonzo Ball, who turns into some version of Jason Kidd or something like that, or at least Mark Jackson, let's say. And Kyle Kuzma, who turns out to be a perennial all-star. He looks well on his way.
Kyle Kuzma looks like a nice player who's getting a bit overhyped because he's a rookie. In 3 or 4 years, when he's still pretty much the same player, a lot of the glitz and the sparkle is going to come off of him. I don't see him becoming much better than he is right now. But, I mean, we'll see. A lot of times rookies get a little bit overrated. They average 15 points a game, and everybody predicts they're going to be perennial all-stars. We'll see what happens.
I mean, something like that can happen, too. Is that as surefire a bet as just getting a superstar? No. But it's not the only way to get it done.
Randall has really impressed me. I think that Randall was smart enough to understand that he had to improve his relationship with Lonzo Ball. I see them seeming to have seeming to be much more simpatico with each other than they were earlier in the season, where Randall seemed to be someone who was going to act out on how he felt about Lonzo because of the fact that he did not like his father via social media manipulation or mass media manipulation, that he should dislike Lonzo Ball. I think he finally got over that once he's realized that Lonzo Ball will be the future of the LA Lakers at point guard, and he better get along if he wants to go along with this team.
You can identify an undervalued talent and trade for him while his value is low and slide him into an excellent young core too. It's another way to do it.
James Harden is a once in every 15-year acquisition in regards to a player that you can get on the cheap and end up being a top player in the NBA. In my view, just outside of the top level of players in the league. Once again, I will have James Harden right underneath that that level of LeBron, KD, Steph, and Kawhi Leonard. And right in the middle of that is Anthony Davis. And then is James Harden. But James Harden is right there with the rest of those guys. If Anthony Davis is a 4.8, I got James probably at 4.7. And that's only because of his playoff performances over the last couple of years, where he's flamed out.
You spend a lot of time in Los Angeles, more than any of us. Let me say this. I want to look at the city of Los Angeles, and I am asking police officers, I am asking elected officials, I am asking everybody that you can find, ban Max Kellerman from the city of Los Angeles. Do not allow him in the facilities. Find a way to keep him out.
I'm the one who makes those decisions in LA.
I'm getting to a point. Listen up before you speak. Here's the deal. I hope HBO
I am the consciousness of LA sports.
Excuse me. Can you listen to the point? You don't even know what I'm going to say and why. Listen. I think HBO should ban you from Los Angeles. I think everybody should contribute to banning Max Kellerman from Los Angeles. Here's why. Max Kellerman has lived there for years. He knows the city of L.A. Max loves L.A., lavishes in all that L.A. represents, but suddenly gets on national television and acts like he doesn't know what they represent. You know good and damn well that L.A., more so than any franchise in the NBA, requires a star. It's one thing to win. I understand that. Of course, that's the priority. But I'm talking about a box office attraction. That's why you really drafted Lonzo Ball with number 2 instead of the Jason Tatums of the world, because you needed box office. And if you don't have it.
Well, before Max Kellerman responds to Stephen A's assertion, let me say that there is validity to Stephen A's statements that the perception is that the Lakers need a bona fide box office star. And I will give credence to what Stephen A is saying, because I believe that Magic Johnson is vibing with Stephen A, that he is simpatico with Stephen A's belief that they need a box office superstar on the Lakers. But I don't believe that they need one myself, because I think that their fan base is so ardent that all they need is success. They'll get behind that team if they're good. They don't need to bring on a top-level, quote-unquote, so-called top-level free agent like a LeBron James, who's really just going to make the whole team all about him. Plus, the thing about LeBron is, does he really want to come to the LA Lakers and be in the shadow of Kobe Bryant, where he's going to be told that you have to win a championship? Kobe did. And all he has around him are Kyle Kuzma and Lonzo Ball. At least supposedly, allegedly, he'll have Lonzo Ball there. I think that Lonzo most likely get traded. But Brandon Ingram and these guys, that's another reason why I believe that LeBron James will most likely pass on signing with the Lakers, because he will not want to have to play in Kobe Bryant's shadow, where the Laker fans already believe that Kobe's better than him. So does he want to go there and try to disprove that statement and risk hurting his overall legacy and failing? LeBron has never been someone that has shown that he's willing or ready to take on that type of challenge. He likes to go back to places where he feels like everything is going to be stacked in his favor. I don't believe that LA will be that place. Houston would, San Antonio would, but not the LA Lakers.
There's something that's missing, only from LA. I'm not talking about any other franchise. I'm talking about from LA. And you, of all people, taking this position after doing afternoon drive there for years and having a crib out there and enjoying the sunshine, looking like you got a tan every 5 seconds. And you gonna...
No, he doesn't. I mean, like he just crawled out of a damn cave.
You gonna sit up there and act like suddenly you don't know what the city of Los Angeles requires? Shame, Max. Shame. Betrayal on your part.
Dr. Jerry Buss, the late great owner of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes, MK handler, who loved underage girls, allegedly. Friend of MK programmer Hugh Hefner. And the Svengali, the master over Mr. Urban Magic Johnson, who showed him the ropes on freakism in L.A. Continue, Max Kellerman.
The greatest owner in the history of American team sports by far. Dr. Jerry Buss was able to do what you just talked about. He could get box office attractions without taking his eye off the ball. He could still win championships while he did that. He's about the only one in history who's ever been able to do it. In the absence of him and Jerry... absolutely give Magic a chance. But what I would say is this. The priority is winning championships. After that, you try to do it in an aesthetically pleasing way. Look, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal were not as fun to watch as Showtime, right?
Agreed.
Right? As Magic and Worthy and those guys. But they won 3 in a row. You think Lakers fans are complaining? You think Kobe and Pau Gasol were as fun to watch even as Kobe and Shaq? But they won 2 championships, went to 3 straight finals.
They were great to watch.
They were nice to watch, but listen to what Kellerman's saying, because his point is a little bit stronger than your point, Stephen A. Smith.
The point is James Harden a star?
Yes.
Okay, you have 2 options. You can either go after James Harden when everyone already knows he's a star and he's expensive and he's not available, or you can find the next James Harden before everyone knows he's a star when he's inexpensive and available.
Max Kellerman is attempting to make a good point, but it's really based off of a precedent that is not something that you can count on when you're trying to build a championship team. You can't count on snagging a James Harden, which is basically a certifiable superstar in the making for a reduced price, because he has not been proven yet. There's just not anybody out there on the market like that. And that's truly not how the LA Lakers do business. As I already stated, they are going to go hard for LeBron James. I think that LeBron has a lot of thinking to do, because I don't think that he wants to have to deal with the pressure of playing in LA. If he does sign there, it's going to be because they're going to promise to sign another superstar, or at least 2 more superstars to play with him, while trading a lot of the young talent that they have, because he's not going to come play with Lonzo Ball. At least I don't believe so. I don't even think that he would want to play with a Kyle Kuzma or Brandon Ingram. LeBron's going to be 34 at the end of this year. He's going to want to make sure that he's putting himself in the best position to win.
By the way, Max, Kevin Durant has an opt-out in his contract after the season. I absolutely believe he's going to stay at Golden State and sign long-term. But he does have the option to opt out of his contract after this season. Let's not forget him.
Yes, let's not forget him. That's why I stated that earlier in this video, Stephen A. Smith. Kevin Durant does have an out in his contract. And could it be that he may be the player that LeBron James teams up with in LA? Things that make you go, You never know. Never know. Please understand that the NBA is basically just a soap opera. They would love to have KD and LeBron in LA. Form a league against the Golden State Warriors with Steph and Clay and Draymond, and then have the Rockets with Chris Paul and James Harden. That would be great for ratings. That'd be great for ratings.
Always
Let's not forget
Stephen A. Always a good idea to sign Kevin Durant. I would never argue
no debate
against
on that one. Magic has traded away 5 players since he took over. They should have up to $70 million in salary cap space this summer, enough to sign 2 guys. Tune into the show on Monday.
No doubt about it. And once again, please watch for Kevin Durant to possibly sign with the LA Lakers after this season. Watch for that, especially if Golden State was to win the chip. I think that he would look at it as mission accomplished. Going to the Lakers would provide him with the opportunity to play with one of his best basketball friends, LeBron James, and it also would put him in the position where he does not have to be the leader. KD does not want to be the leader. And he's already declared that in his mind, Steph Curry is better than him. No matter what he says, like he was talking all that shit in the back of the Uber with LeBron about how we're the 2 best. Kevin Durant believes that Steph Curry is better than him. Any team that Kevin Durant goes to, he will not be the alpha. He will be the beta. Okay? He's probably the greatest complimentary player to ever play. That's what he is. And I give Skip Bayless credit, because Skip Bayless was probably the first person that I heard say that, and he is correct. Kevin Durant's probably the greatest second banana in NBA history. He's right there with, I would probably say, right there with Elgin Baylor and maybe Kobe in the Shaq years as the best second banana player in NBA history. The difference being that both Elgin Baylor and Kobe Bryant had alpha personalities. And they actually had points in their career where they were able to carry the team on their own. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Watch for LeBron to either re-sign with Cleveland, go to Houston, with the promise that he'll be able to have the ball in his hands a lot, or if he does sign with LA for them to trade Lonzo Ball and a couple of those other players and for him to team up with Kevin Durant. But anyway, peace.